organization for journalists,
Ah,
then you will be not be able to get access to all the news, to all the press conferences and all the places where the news is being announced. So basically, you can't do your job.
he
or
can
not
join
effectively.
the news conference
Yeah. So and
as a
then
member.
if there are critical questions, people can be refused to participate any longer. So the people, like the politicians, they can basically reject people from participating in these kinds of events. So basically, as a journalist, if you want to keep on doing your job, you can't write anything critical because there's a
Oh, this is
risk
the same thing.
that you stop.
Yeah, exactly. Takahashi mentioned before. In Vietnam, if Japanese company try to go into submit for the bridge construction, bridge, okay, and Australian construction company beats this making constructing bridge, but Japanese cannot make a bid because construction groups they have some consensus to keep quality. Okay, Australian company never do that. Okay, even if quality is bit amount is so small, so they don't care about quality. And not based on Australian quality, based on Vietnam quality. So Japanese, if you try to beat this bridge construction, that company will going to be criticized by Japanese construction industry. That company cannot do that because they need to keep quality and reputation. And this is everything like that. Not only that kind of case, but everything like that. They try to protect their group and conservative, sort of so traditional way of life or something sort of that. Everything. This is a bad aspect. That's the reason Japanese industry.
Well, it's a
no
non
growth past 3 decades.
It's not a fact. That would not happen in the Netherlands for sure.
Of course.
People would be flexible in their offering.
Of course, only Japan. So this is I try to struggle into like just Mr. Matsuda's interview, and I try to speak out in Japanese. What is Japanese wrong, pros and cons, and many people do not understand that thing. Because many people is very much influenced by Japanese newspapers, NHK, and kind of conservative opinion and short-sighted opinion. And so this is the current Japanese problem. And let's see. Just we discussed last Saturday about AI and doctors, lawyers, and also those people who are going to losing job the next 5 years. And we try to find out a new job. And I just recognize the Japanese cannot communicate with overseas people. So we have know-how skills in the history, never go outside. Okay, so everything is kept within Japan. So it means good opportunity. We're going to sell our skill know-how overseas, not product. And so for trading companies, they try to sell product and try to import mineral from, like, for example, Australia, from China, right? And this is a trade corporation's responsibility. But now they or some other similar organization going to switch into try to sell Japanese skill and know-how, people. As you know that, like this Gond cases, nobody can. They didn't communicate with overseas people. Nobody. They just only discuss among Japanese people. So this is a problem. But it's not easy issue to solve. We cannot solve this issue. I don't know how to do that. Of course, one is Japanese cannot speak English. Not only English, but also they don't have a human network outside Japan. Like my family was 30 years Chinese, so I have still connection to Asia Pacific and China, and overseas Chinese or Chinese, but Japanese they are not. Okay, the Japanese say like a diet member and Congress members saying that I have a very close friend in China. No, not true. They are not friends. Think about that. Twice a year they're going to meet with this certain level of people, Chinese, politicians. It's nothing. Are they going to trust us? No, I don't think so. The emergency time is coming, and they don't. They will betray those Japanese people. This they can trust. I believe that.
I was reading the comment section. There's an article about China in the Netherlands, and there were a lot of people who were doing business in China, and they were actually saying exactly the same thing as you are saying, like, oh, yeah, if you don't, like, you think you have a good relationship, but what is true today is probably not true tomorrow if the situation changes.
And this is one thing.
That means that you basically, you don't have a long-term trusted relationship.
I have a connection,
but that is not something that we are used to in the Netherlands. In our business culture, it doesn't rely on trust. We trust in the law. We trust in the law to basically represent us in the rights. So if we draft a contract, then basically the law will protect it. So we don't need to invest in trusted relationships. And that's what a lot of people, when they do business in China, do not understand. Actually, the same is true in Japan. Now I'm working on contracting in Japan for our suppliers, and we use a lot of sample contracts from Global, from UK, from the Netherlands, as samples to draft our Japanese contracts. But the Japanese contracts are much shorter because it's overkill in Japanese society to.
Just want I forget Nakano region.
Oh.
No, Nakano. Let's see. Nakano? Yama.
Yama-san.
Yeah, I forget that.
He's not online.
He's not online?
You have a nasty.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I just forget you were going to wait.
Fine. So I'm gonna move to my room. So wait a moment. So
yes,
please talking about the topic. So
right.
I'm gonna join later. So
okay. See you in a bit.
In 5 minutes. In 5 minutes.
Okay. Can you call me?
I think he will call you. So better disconnect.
I forgot. He said he was going to join us.
You have a bad spot here.
Yeah, this is getting broken. I bought PC, 3 months ago, but I submitted to fix my PC, but that company told me probably they try to find some used PC similar to mine. If they're going to try to buy the keyboard, they're going to ask me 200,000. So he tried to find out just something replacing my board. I bought 32 gigabytes, so it's not easy to find it. So all this.
You have 32 gigabyte RAM. Is that enough?
3 months is already passed, but this is getting already. It's some problem this PC, so that's the reason why.
No, why do you have so many problems with your Macs?
Because I'm using 15 hours a day, 7 days. So no way. This is different compared with other people. I'm using a lot. What he's doing? Just
he will join in 5 minutes. Speaking of trading companies, did you meet them?
No, he's just coming back to Japan yesterday. When did you come to Japan?
Oh, you're recording. You're recording.
Yeah, it's okay. I just cut it out. Anyway, this one. Right? Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
And first,
Yes, yes. You can.
Friday, young one a week afterwards. So
Ah.
because I'll stay here.
I see, I see.
You're going to stay for 10 days, huh? Mhm.
Yes.
Is that because of Chinese New Year? Is that because you
Yeah.
came back?
So yeah.
Not so much happening in Vietnam. Right.
Oh, Chinese New Year, so you're staying here. Oh, I see. Okay.
So you can relax a little bit in the office.
I'll be outside.
But they're going to find somebody to work with you, right? In your company.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, no. I thought your company was going to look for somebody to work with you.
I'm ready. Sorry.
But
Sorry,
you're
guys, I'm
right,
ready now.
right behind you.
It's alright.
Light behind you, but too bright.
Too bright. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I open the window now.
Open window, yes, that's right. Open curtain, not open window.
Well, you can open the window if you want, but
You
I don't
don't
know
need
how
to.
warm it is
You don't need to open window.
in
How
Osaka.
about so better now?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. My parents' house are old, very old.
Ah, you're in your parents' house. I see.
Equipments are shabby.
Right. Traditional house in the center of Osaka.
No, it's north part of Osaka.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. Do you know the Itami Airport, the domestic airport in
Yes.
Osaka?
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I know very little in Osaka. I only went through it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Uh,
So now I'm in the airport.
I see.
Okay.
okay, I just start sharing. Okay, you can. Okay, we're going to something now.
It's taking a little bit.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
voice is.
What is
Oh.
this?
Here you go.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Okay, we're going to start again. Just a week and
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
10 minutes elapsed time, but we're going to start again. And we just talking about European people and Japanese people. We have big gap,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't communicate each other. Especially the Gon case is one example. And based on Japanese news and NHK is they have only talking about by Japanese language. So we need to consider for how we're going to solve the kind of gap. Otherwise, AI is going to spread in Japan. Accountant, lawyers are going to lose their job. How are we going to fill in their?
Yeah, it's very easy in Japan because AI would basically could be taught easily to adjust to common sense. Like overseas, there is a more widespread range of opinions that are appearing in the news, but in Japan, it's kind of easy to learn what the common sense is and start writing artificially generated pieces of content.
What do you mean? I don't know.
What we were talking about is that there is so much consensus in Japan. Whoever there are quite a few people in Japan who raise the topic of Gon when they meet me, or because it's so. What's your opinion? And I always think, because I already know what their opinion is. And without exception, everybody seems to agree that that Gon basically is guilty and should not have fled and should have stayed in Japan to prove his innocence. If he's innocent, then he could have proved his innocence, but he couldn't do that. Instead, he ran away from the country, which is not exactly the opinion that they have overseas. And we were talking about, okay, so how come that everybody has the same opinion in Japan? Well, I think it also has to do with the news outlets, because the news outlets, without exception, they also have the same opinion. And how come the news outlets all have the same opinion? That has to do with the society of journalists. There is one society of journalists in Japan that if you're not a member of that society, you will not get access to the press events. That means that you're not capable of doing your job. Now, if you would write provocative pieces that would not comply with the opinion, the general understanding, the common sense in that society of journalists, you could lose your seats, you could lose access to these events. So in order to preserve your livelihood, in order to preserve your job, you better write something that is in line with what the Society of Journalists thinks and writes about. So if that happens, it's not surprising that the Japanese audience, who are always presented with a unified idea, always develop a unified opinion. So I believe that there is one of the root causes of the common sense ideas and the general understanding, even in spite of the fact that there are so many people overseas that are criticizing Japan. And nobody is, well, at least nobody, there are not many people in Japan who are actually objectively listening to those opinions and try to synthesize what is going on. Because maybe they don't read English, maybe they don't are not interested in that opinion, maybe it doesn't fit in their world image and it's uncomfortable, or maybe it doesn't serve their private purpose, which is to actually be a good member of society. If you have a different opinion and you ventilate that opinion, that would create uneasiness among your friends, among your relatives, among your co-workers, which is not beneficial for you and for your career. So it is.
Yeah,